artists, famous for their home-baked breads, freshly made soups, and handcrafted sandwiches like Hilla's Thrilla. At Two Fish, you can even grab some wine or beer to take to your picnic or dinner. Bakery, market, and eatery open 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Fridays, and 7:30 a.m. to 5 on Sundays. That's Two Fish Baking at Stewart's Point, a destination of deliciousness. Find out more at twofishbaking.com or call 707-785-2011. That's 707-785-2011.
Good morning. Welcome to Peggy's Place and KGUA here in Molalla 88.3 FM. I am your host today, Leanne Lindsay. It is just after 9 o'clock on Friday, the 27th of January. It's about 43 degrees outside under partly cloudy skies, and it looks like we'll have a nice weekend headed up, a little bit cooler this weekend. But it is going to be a beautiful one ahead, and we have a big show lined up for you today. We have 4 guests waiting for us on Zoom, and we are live on YouTube, so you can watch this show anytime starting right now, and also you can hear us online at kgua.org. Just click Listen Live at the top of the page, and you will get a web app, and you just click Start, and you can listen to us wherever you get internet. Just a few announcements before we head into our show. With 3 different filmmakers and the executive director of the Mendocino Film Festival, they're going to talk about a great event coming up this weekend at the Sea Ranch Lodge, and I'll get to that in just a moment. First, I wanted to let you know that you can get free screenings for your blood pressure, cholesterol, and COVID-19 antigen tests and more from Mendocino Health Alliance, and that is Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. by appointment. They also have walk-ins on Tuesday, and they are located in the Sunster Mall. At the Dolphin Gallery, local artist from Scotland, and that is Elizabeth Gladstone. Her paintings and mixed media are evoking of the rugged beauty of our Mendocino coast. That's showing through February the 26th. And again, that's right in the Dolphin Gallery for this coming few weeks. And also at Molalla Arts, we have Paper Legends continuing through February 5th, talking about a lot of local artists. They are going to be showing there at Paper Legends. Classical music returns to the Molalla Arts also on February the 5th at 4 p.m. And that's Yu-Chin Liu. He's the first prize winner of the annual Klein competition. And he's going to be accompanied by pianist Miles Graber. And again, that's February 5th at 4 p.m. And then at the Sea Ranch Lodge, we've got trivia night every Tuesday evening from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. till February 28th. So through the month of February, they have their morning yoga going as well. And that is from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Saturdays, starting again tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And that's in the dining room. And now to our special event that got moved because of the major storms we all endured. The Mendocino Film Festival is showing Northern California nature shorts at 5:30 p.m. Saturday. That's tomorrow, and that's open to the public. And this is a beautiful selection of 6 different films that'll be about 80 minutes long. And it is really providing a scenic tour through our Northern California region and a few points beyond. And again, it will have 6 different films. We're going to talk about 3 of them today with 3 different filmmakers. And the list is 3 Ocean Advocates, Plant Heist, Brief Survey, Visions of the Lost Sierra, Requiem for a Fallen Tree, and I've already said Plant Heist. So we're going to get into that now. Again, we are talking today with the executive director of the Mendocino Film Festival, Angela Matano. And then we're going to talk with 3 other filmmakers, Cynthia Abbott, Daryl Jury, and Gabriel DeCuba. And they're coming up in just a moment. Good morning, Angela. It's so good to see you. How are you doing? Let's see if your mic is on. I think you may have to check it on your end. This is what we all do with Zoom these days.
How's that?
There you are.
All right. Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Yes, it's great to see you. And I just am glad that you're all here. And Angela, you're from your looks like you're talking from your house in Mendocino.
I am. I moved up here in the midst of COVID from Los Angeles. I feel like I escaped to paradise up here. And I began working for the Mendocino Film Festival about a year ago, and have just been thrilled to work with the community. There's so many wonderful people up here. One of our goals is to just increase the word of the festival after having had it shut down for 2 years with COVID, and bring in new members, expose the festival to people in the county of Mendocino and into Sonoma and Mendonoma to all the things we're doing, and try to bring people in as much as we can.
I've been a longtime supporter and sponsor of the Mendocino Film Festival, and I'm so happy that we were able to come back last year. You had your hands full restarting the engine and bringing all the volunteers back together again, but you did a magnificent job.
Oh, thank you.
And
COVID was still like lingering a little bit, but I feel like now this year we're really ready to just go to the next level and feel not quite as cautious as we did last year.
And when are the dates again this year?
The dates this year are June 1 through 4, and there'll be films Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have parties. You can join as a member if you feel like going to our really fun parties. We have, as you see with all the people who are here on the show today, we have lots of filmmakers who come up and do Q&As and panels and participate, and it's just really a fun weekend in Mendocino.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to share my screen right now because back in 2018, I had created a short video about the festival. I'm going to play just a few seconds of it so that people can have an idea. I've lined up a few trailers here to play as well. This is the intro to the Mendocino Film Festival. Pretty loud. Here we go.
This is a very special festival. We wouldn't miss it for the world. Seeing two amazing films, the shorts last night, great party tonight, and I know the cocktails are the hero here.
I love this film festival. It's fantastic.
We have 16 chefs here tonight. We're really grateful to have all of them, to have our wineries.
This is one of the greatest little film festivals in the whole world. It's just a jewel.
Pierce Brosnan is known as one of Hollywood's biggest stars. He came to Northern California to talk about a new documentary he produced with his wife.
And that's just a short little piece about the Mendocino Film Festival back when we had lots of great stars coming in for that. And let me see if I can get back now to all of you, and I'll stop share on that. So, Angela, that's part of what they can expect, right?
Absolutely. And I can let you in on a little secret that we're working hard to get a celebrity up here for the festival, and I have a good feeling about it this year.
That's great to hear. And now we're going to move into our talk with the first filmmaker up, and this is Cynthia Abbott, a resident of Petaluma. She is an Emmy award-winning filmmaker who has produced a film called Three Ocean Advocates, and the other rest of it, Cynthia, I'm trying to remember what the rest of it is. Inspiring Change. Welcome. Let's see if we've got your there we go.
I'm unmuted.
Angela,
Yeah,
thank you very much, by the way.
Thank you.
All right. Hi, Cynthia.
Hi, Leanne. It's good to see you again, and thank you for having me on the program today.
I was really glad to meet you at the Sebastopol Documentary Film Festival, and then you mentioned that you were also going to be up at the Mendocino Film Festival last year, and the filming just grabbed us. I was there with Tree Mercer of the Mendonoma Whale and Seal Study, and we were just astonished by the quality of the filmmaking, the cinematography, the editing, everything. It's beautifully done. Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, I'll have to give a shout out to the cinematographer and editor. They're the understory, and it's the cinematographer is Fabian Aguirre, and The second camera is Mayo Peixoto, and they do incredible work. And I'm so lucky to have them and fortunate to work with them throughout many of the shorts that we've created. And Three Ocean Advocates, did you want me to go into what the piece is about, or were you going to show the short or the trailer?
You know, why don't I show the trailer right now, and then we can talk about it on the backside. And I'll go ahead and share screen now and then bring up that particular trailer. I get to do all my own engineering here. But for those who are watching on YouTube, you can see this. You could also go and find it yourself. This is Three Ocean Advocates Inspiring Change.
We rely on the ocean for over 50% of the oxygen we breathe. Our ocean is facing unprecedented challenges. Climate change, coral bleaching, plastic and industrial pollution, warming temperatures, and overfishing are serious threats to the ocean. There is hope, however. An artist, a fisherman, and a photographer remind us there is something we each can do, one action at a time.
And this says over 80% of ocean plastic comes from land-based sources.
Every single piece of plastic that has ever been produced is still here and will stay here. This has been staying at the bottom of the ocean for, could be 50 years. It doesn't ever leave the planet. My work does reflect the throwaway economy that we live in. And I want people to know that.
And that's just a piece of the trailer from Three Ocean Advocates with the filmmaker Cynthia Abbott, who's with us today. And Cynthia, tell us a little bit about the film now, if you could.
Well, Three Ocean Advocates puts climate change and what's happening to the oceans on a personal level. And that's told through the stories of the three advocates that you just saw. Tess Felix, she's a portrait artist, and she creates her portraits from plastics found on her local beach. She lives in Stinson Beach. And then Dick Ogg, who's a fisherman, is facing climate change with the warming oceans, the changing in the migration of the whales, entanglement, a shorter fishing season because of the whales hanging out longer in the good feeding grounds in the warm oceans. And then Barbara Kreitz, who isn't shown in that part of the trailer, was moved to St. John, Virgin Islands, and loved diving and started photographing the underwater sea life of St. John. And it turned out to become, not with that wasn't her intention, but over a 10-year period, you see the decline of the coral reefs and what's happening to the ocean in that area. So the Three Ocean Advocates show the issues that each of them is facing personally, and also that they're taking actions. They are not sitting back and being overwhelmed by it, because it is an overwhelming issue. Each of those problems are major, but they are taking actions, and they want the public to understand what's happening and what they're doing and what you can do to help heal our ocean.
Tell us a little bit about Dick Ogg. I think that you were telling us, the fisherman.
Mm-hmm.
Was there another film?
I'm sorry?
There was another film that was done about him too?
Well, Three Ocean Advocates is part of a film series. We have Every Second Breath Project is producing short films, and they're all under 10 minutes, and they're all on advocates, ocean advocates. So the Dick Ogg, which you see in this piece, was originally a standalone 10-minute piece.
That's what it was, right?
Yeah, and we put the three together to create a half-hour piece to broadcast on NorCal PBS stations. And was the reason we put those three together, because we also have other films that are 10 minutes or under long that talk about different issues within the ocean. So Dick is a crab fisherman, and he's very passionate about the ocean and what's happening. And he works a lot with crab pot entanglements, because back in, I think it was 2016, the crab pot entanglement with whales it spiked. And that was due to the whales staying in the Northern California area longer because of the warming oceans. We had that warming blob take place that had the, I don't know, 2 degree or 4 degree increase in the temperatures. And there were more whales during the beginning of that fishing season than there ever had before. And even though they delayed the season, it wasn't long enough. And there was a enormous amount of entanglement. So he's been working with the state and the fishermen and other entities and with NOAA. And now the good news is, when you're watching the film, give a little, this is not in the film, but entanglements have gone down. And this year there's only been one in the from the Northern California district, and I think 5 in the entire West Coast. So it's his story and his advocacy and his passion, and there are success stories from it.
There are a lot of people working on ropeless gear technology too, so that can be implemented and changed out with those that are still using the ropes that do entangle. It's getting these fishermen and fisher folks to be able to change out their equipment. And so support of that needs to happen at the same time. But that was one thing that we talked about on the Ocean Life Symposium that we did with Scott and Tree Mercer the last couple of years. So that's really important, and it's good to hear that. You're also working on going forward, sounds in the ocean. Can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, the next short that I'm producing and directing, it's in development, and it's a much more complicated, larger issue than I had ever anticipated when I plunged in. The oceans are getting noisier decade by decade. In the last decade, the sound noise from shipping has doubled. And this has an effect on marine life and marine mammals around the world. Plus there's sonar, and we have a real threat with deep sea mining that at this point is unregulated, and there's many, many issues with that, and there's a lot of sound possible consequences. So I just want to bring to the surface that there's this beautiful ocean soundscape in existence now, and that human activity is disrupting that, and there are very serious consequences from that disruption. And so while we can, let's see what we can do to mitigate those issues before we disrupt too much, and then we don't have to go back and try to correct it. So but it's a challenge. There's too much, just too many things that are infiltrating the ocean soundscape. Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Cynthia Abbott. She's a filmmaker from Petaluma whose film 3 Ocean Advocates Inspiring Change is going to be showing as part of a set of 6 films about nature in Northern California that are showing this weekend, this Saturday, 5:30 p.m. at the Sea Ranch Lodge, thanks to the Mendocino Film Festival, which is a lovely festival we've got just to the north of us every year. And last year it was back in person. It'll be back in person again this year. And it's June 1 through 4. That's a wonderful film festival because of all the venues that you've got in Mendocino that you can walk to, and also up at Fort Bragg at the Coast Cinemas. you can go there as well. I'm Leanne Lindsay, your host today on this special segment about this event this weekend. And I've got 3 filmmakers here with me, along with the executive director of the Mendocino Film Festival. And we're going to get back with Cynthia. Then we've got Daryl Jury up next. But Cynthia, I wanted to go back to this film because you did win an Emmy Award for this. Can you talk a little bit about that?
In my shout outs, I did forget to, I neglected to mention my co-producer and co-director, Andrea Wiedemann.
Right. Angela.
We did work together on the 3, and she directed one of the films personally, and I did 2, and then we did one together. The Emmy, well, it was broadcast on Northern California Bay Area Bountiful show. It was edited to go with their format. And it was nominated for an Emmy, and it's just one of the most thrilling events in my life to have won that Emmy and be recognized in the environmental educational division. And that's what these films do. Our intention is to educate and inform the viewer about the beauty of the ocean, the damage that we're doing to the ocean, but also encourage people to take actions to help mitigate what we're doing to harm the ocean.
And you're an experienced cinematographer and editor and filmmaker. You've worked in Burma and Thailand too. What were you doing there?
Well, I was in Burma. My ex-husband was working on a project on the Irrawaddy Delta, and this was back in the days when it was ruled by a military dictatorship. But besides that, they were reaching out to try to correct their fisheries because they were overfishing their number 1 export, which is shrimp, prawn. And the French ambassador, I wasn't allowed to bring in a camera. It was very controlled, the country. There was limited travel. You couldn't bring in movie cameras, and if you had a still camera, there was only certain areas that you could photograph. So the French ambassador, a diplomatic immunity, was making films on the culture of Burma, and he was doing one on Burmese nuns, and he didn't have complete access to their living and their daily life. And so we collaborated, and I was the cinematographer on part of that with the day in the life of a Burmese nun. And in Thailand, my son was working in an orphanage up in the hill tribes, and that were refugees from, well, they don't have refugee status, but they were the children who escaped the brutality of the Burmese government, which is now Myanmar.
Right.
And it's a little short on the life in this orphanage.
When did you start working on 3 Ocean Advocates? And tell us about Every Second Breath as well, what the organization that you've created.
Well, Every Second Breath is just focuses on films and the messaging of the ocean and the issues. And it's titled that because over 50% of the oxygen we breathe comes from the ocean. And when I heard that catchphrase, over 50% of the oxygen we breathe comes from the ocean, I was very surprised. I didn't know that. And I've been a coastal person my entire life. I love the ocean. And I asked around a lot of different friends and acquaintances who are involved in environmental movement, and I would say the majority of them also didn't know. There's always been this push that the Amazon is the lung of our planet, and here it is, the ocean.
I know. I remember when Ralph Chami from the International Monetary Fund was on our Ocean Life Symposium, thanks to Scott and Tree Mercer, and he came on talking about that very thing, about how the whales produce, their excrement and such to the phytoplankton, and the phytoplankton is what gives us over 50% of our oxygen on this planet, and how important that is, and that he came from the perspective of installing legal protections for whales because of the value that they bring to the planet. Each whale is equivalent to like over 1,500 trees in the amount of carbon that they can sequester over a lifetime, but also because of their excrement and what they do for our oxygen on the planet. So it was eye-opening for us too.
It is. We can't survive without a healthy ocean. And I'd like to just state this one quote from Sylvia Earle, the oceanographer, and she said, we are as dependent on the ocean as a whale. So that's how dependent we are onto a healthy ocean. And it's out of sight, out of mind for most of us because we all live in the land, even here in Petaluma. Think more about land-based pollution, but the ocean provides us food, oxygen, controls our weather, it's transportation.
Right.
And it's vital to keep it healthy.
Vital to keep it healthy, that's for sure. And if I can just see if I can get Angela Matano back on for just a moment, I wanted to talk about this event. And the reason why we've got the filmmakers here talking about these short films today is because the Mendocino Film Festival, just to the north of us, about an hour away, is putting on a special event that is going to be showcasing 6 different short nature films about Northern California and a few points beyond that are so important for us all. And this is open to the public. It's at 5:30 p.m. at the Sea Ranch Lodge. And that is Saturday, January the 28th. And there she is. Hey, Angela.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that the event is free too. I'm not sure if you mentioned that. We would love everyone to come. And we feel like maybe in Gualala and in Sea Ranch Lodge, people don't quite realize that we have a festival. So we'd love to just get people involved. And these films, the 6 nature shorts, including Little Piece of Earth is the 6th one. They're just
That was the one
fantastic. And each one is unique. And for some reason, I feel they all work together in this beautiful way. They each present a little different aspect about nature and the natural world. And then the last short is kind of a funny little end to it all. I mean, they're not too depressing, which we were thinking about. We didn't want them to be too dark, but they're very, at the same time, very stark about what we need and what's happening in the natural world. And I think they just represent our area and how much everyone in this area cares about the environment and the beauty that surrounds us. And they're just great. I'm so thrilled to give them a little bit of a life together beyond our festival and bring them to people who didn't get a chance to see them in 2022.
It's so important, all of these different perspectives about nature. And thank you so much for working with Christina Jatan to bring these to the Sea Ranch Lodge and to our community here on what we call the Mendocino coast, because we are a blend of Mendocino and Sonoma. We're northern Sonoma coast along with southern Mendocino coast. And just halfway up the Mendocino coast, you've got Mendocino and this beautiful festival. So thank you, Angela. Angela is the executive director, came on to reintroduce the festival last year after 2 years of it being away during the pandemic. And it was so nice to be back in person, Angela. And thank you for all the work that you did. And all the volunteers. There's Anne and Kira and so many more at the festival who put so much time and energy into this. Marshall, who comes on and does a lot of the sound and audio and video. Can you name some of the volunteers for us? Ann Walker, I first started with, and then Kira Wojak.
Yeah, Ann Walker is one of the programmers with our program director, Herb Stratford, and they're an amazing team. Herb is new to our area. He'd been working at Napa and Sonoma and his own Tucson Film Festival. And Ann Walker has been with the festival for over a decade, and she's just amazing. She helps in so many aspects of the festival, and she has a great eye for programming, and she loves films. And actually, Herb Stratford is at Sundance right now, and he's seen 36 films in, I think, 3 days. So we're working hard to find the next great movie and short for the 2023 festival, but I still can't quite let go of 2022. And it was just a magical experience. And the Sea Ranch Lodge has been so generous in offering up their space. They're going to serve little bites for everyone. There'll be alcohol. There'll be a Q&A after the film with a couple of the filmmakers. And it's just going to be a really fun, community-driven, warm evening.
Thank you for coming back on to say that, Angela.
Thank you.
And Cynthia, thank you for telling us about Three Ocean Advocates, Inspiring Change. That's one of the short films. And next up is president of the Friends of the Plumas Wilderness. And this is Daryl Jury. And Friends of Plumas Wilderness is dedicated to studying, exploring, and maintaining the integrity of natural ecosystems where the Sierra and Cascades meet. Good morning, Daryl. Welcome to KGUA.
Good morning, Leanne. Nice to be here today. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And give us a little idea about Visions of the Lost Sierra, and then we're going to play part of your trailer.
Yes, Visions of the Lost Sierra was made in 2018 to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act and the Middle Fork of the Feather River, which was one of 8 rivers protected with the designation and the passage of that act. And all of the rivers were threatened by either dams or diversions or mines. So the designation of the Middle Fork of the Feather River precluded dams from being built on this. It's an amazing fishery. It's one of the world-class destinations for kayaking. So it's really not many people know about it. Part of that being it's such a difficult place to access, but it's granite canyons and on par with Yosemite Valley. But it has a big river running through the middle of it and only a few trails or routes down to access it. So we made the film to celebrate the river and those who work to keep it free flowing. As I said, like the other rivers that were protected in 1968, this one had 4 dams that were proposed to be built along the river.
And what went into the making of the trailer that we're about to see and play for those on air listening audio and those on YouTube?
Yes, the film features people that reside or recreate along the river. So we start at the headwaters in Sierra Valley and then move downstream. And the most rugged and remote portion of the Middle Fork of the Feather River is just before it enters the Sacramento Valley. And this is the Granite Wonderland and the waterfalls, river-wide falls, and it's amazing kayaking destination. So I haven't seen the trailer in a while, but I'm sure it features some of that footage.
All right, we're going to go into this Visions of the Lost Sierra trailer. This is one of the short films playing tomorrow, 5:30 at the Sea Ranch Lodge.
Free-flowing rivers, mountains and canyons, wild places make me who I am. The Middle Fork of the Feather River is important to a lot of different people from all different walks of life.
When you really start visiting a place at your earliest memories, it becomes part of who you are.
Really meant a lot to me to be in Bald Rock Canyon. It looks like it's never been touched. It's a good feeling to know there's still a place or two that you can go, and that's what you'll find.
And that is so beautifully photographed, and I just wanted everybody to see this. If you can go to Vimeo or YouTube, explain what went into the filming of that trailer, just the trailer alone.
Well, of course, the trailer features some of the highlights of the film. The film is about a 15-minute film that the cinematographer who led the effort, Matt Rittenauer, he's currently working for National Geographic, a show they have called Trafficked, a documentary series where they explore complex and dangerous inner workings of global underworld, black markets, and other informal markets. And so Matt, he went to school at Chico State University, and he did a short film in the Upper Feather River, where I became aware of his work and his potential. And not just Matt, the kayak footage is Colby Elliott, who he grew up in Chester, just north of Quincy, where I'm at here. And again, an amazing outdoor athlete and photographer, cinematographer. And so it's really a team of people. And Matt Rittenauer pulled all these folks together to make the film. And without him, wouldn't have been able to do it.
That really looked like National Geographic footage.
Yeah. Matt has some documentaries that he's made on his own, as well as for National Geographic, but he has a website, MatthewRittenauer.com. He recently produced a film just before the Russian invasion in Ukraine. It's called War and Honey. It's a short film that is really touching, moving film. He also made one called Hammer Dam. It's about the removal of a dam on Cottonwood Creek in Tehama County, not far from where I grew up. So Matt's work is international, but he really has a tie to this place, having gone to school at Chico State, and he's done quite a bit of work in Northern California.
So describe where these counties are again in California. Tehama, you said?
Yes.
Is it a city?
Tehama County is in the north end of the Sacramento Valley, and that film Hammer Dam features that. I'm in Plumas County. We are at the headwaters of the State Water Project. So our region provides water to 27 million Californians via the State Water Project. So the health of our watershed is important to the majority of Californians. And we're at the very northern end of the Sierra Nevada. And the north part of our watershed is at Lassen Volcanic National Park, Lassen Peak. So we are where the Sierra and Cascades meet.
If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Daryl Jury, who's the president of Friends of the Plumas Wilderness, filmmaker who created the Visions of the Lost Sierra, a short film that's going to be one of 6 playing this Saturday, 5:30 p.m., free and open to the public at the Sea Ranch Lodge, Saturday, January 28th. I'm Leanne Lindsay, your host today. I'm a filmmaker and audio producer as well, and I just enjoy so much talking with other filmmakers and creators who work so hard to bring important stories to the public. And it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of time, a lot of energy and resources to do these things. And 6 of these short films will be shown. They're nature shorts, and they're about Northern California and points beyond. And again, we're talking with Daryl Jury, and you're up in Plumas County, as you were saying. And tell us a little bit about what Friends of Plumas Wilderness does. And by the way, before I get into that too, this is KGUA in Wallala, 88.3 FM, streaming worldwide at kgua.org. And we're live on YouTube. I had to put those in there too, Daryl.
Yes.
So tell us about Friends of Plumas Wilderness again.
Yes, Friends of Plumas Wilderness was established in 1974. So next year will be our 50th anniversary. And for most of those 5 decades, we've been an all-volunteer, non-membership organization. But like much of the state, we've experienced mega fires in the last few years. Our watershed had the Camp Fire, the deadliest fire in California's recorded history. And on the heels of that, we had the North Complex, where 16 people were killed in that fire. And then last year, now the year before last, 2021, we had the Dixie Fire, the largest single fire in California's history. So our region has changed dramatically in the last 4 years. And So we are growing our organization to meet the challenges and opportunities of our time. Some of the threats to our region are, of course, these mega fires. There's increased pressure to use herbicides to restore forests. And there's also multinational mining corporations that are beginning to buy up mining claims and threaten to have a large-scale gold mine in our region, which is historically, we were within the mother lode of the gold rush. So lots of threats. There's also lots of opportunities to protect lands. Friends of Plumas Wilderness aims to protect 100 miles more of wild and scenic rivers in our region. We're looking at, with partners, we're investigating the possibility of a national monument in our region. We are working on forest recovery efforts in the wildlands. We want to elevate indigenous knowledge, and we're working with tribes to investigate how co-stewardship of our public lands could work. And of course, those lands were all taken from the Maidu and other tribes, which, because of the discovery of gold in our region, treaties that had been established weren't ratified. So a lot of the tribes in our region are landless and are beginning to reacquire land back. So our organization, as we gear up, that's one of the things that's very important to us. So we've got a great young staff who's fired up to take over for the next few decades, and really excited about not just the challenges we're facing, but the opportunities that we have, and how we can continue to play a role in our community, in our region.
Daryl, that's really good to hear. And we have right here the Friends of Wallala River, who work together too, with a lot of the locals to protect the watershed of the Wallala River. I helped with one of these fundraising videos where I did a lot of the narration, but unfortunately, it didn't make it through the courts, and a lot of timber was felled in the area, but they're still protecting more because it does disrupt the quality of the watershed with the silt that comes down into the river. But it's really good to hear what you're doing there too, and maybe you'll be reaching out to Friends of Wallala River. But what we're talking about today is this short film that you were part of putting together, and that's called Visions of the Lost Sierra. That's playing this weekend, this Saturday, at the Sea Ranch Lodge, starting 5:30. It's an 80-minute program that's being brought to us by the Mendocino Film Festival. And I just have to say too, when you talked about the fires that have just devastated Northern California, a lot of California, for many years now. Also, we just went through this atmospheric river of storms, and it's very apparent. I drove from Sea Ranch to Fort Bragg yesterday, just seeing a lot of the devastation that happened. These trees, and most of it really is from the Sea Ranch, Timber Cove area up to Point Arena. That's the worst. But a lot of these trees came down by their root bulbs because of the drought that we've been through, beetle kill, a lot of other reasons, diseases that these trees may have gone through. Not the redwoods at all, but that I could see, but mostly some of the other tree, the cypress, the pine, the oak. So we're also going through that kind of weather occurrence because of climate change. So I just wanted to point that out as well. We've just been hammered by those storms, and thank goodness we've had some nice clear weather lately.
Yeah, of course, climate change, that was predicted that we'd have this kind of whiplash events from drought to flood. And where I live, the North Fork of the Feather River, there's a railroad and a highway. Highway 70 runs through there, but I was just looking at the news that the highway is closed indefinitely because after the fires, there's been all kinds of earth movement, and it's not just one location, but several places where the rock just keeps coming down. There was a railroad car derailed in the canyon just a week or two back. So it's a very dynamic landscape now after the fire. And yeah, like all of California, these storms, we need that precipitation. It's just there's so much of it coming all at once. And it's really hard. I empathize with those who manage water in the state because we want to capture that.
Yeah, thankfully our
but,
reservoirs are all filled up. It's some way over 100% now.
Right. And it's really interesting time in the state with the Klamath River dams coming out to restore salmon. But there's also dams that are going to be built, like the Sites Reservoir off the main stem of the Sacramento River. So adjusting to these climatic events is going to be a challenge. And Friends of Plumas Wilderness, we see our role being in restoring the wildlands and protecting the wild rivers into the future. We're really poised to play a role in our region, and thank you for the opportunity to share some of our work to others throughout the state, because it does take all of us working together.
It really does. And I think that you just froze up a little bit, and it's fine because we were just at the end of talking with you, and that was Daryl Jury, who's president of Friends of Plumas Wilderness. I think I've got you back now. Thank you for joining us today on this talk with Cynthia Abbott of Three Ocean Advocates and Angela Matano from the Mendocino Film Festival. Thank you for joining us, Daryl. I'm going to say goodbye to you and go on into Gabriel now. Bye. Thank you very much. And up next here on KGUA in Wallala, 88.3 FM, we've got another filmmaker, and he is going to be joining us in person at the Sea Ranch Lodge tomorrow, Saturday, 5:30. This is Gabriel de Cuba. Is it Cuba or Cuba, Gabriel?
Yeah, it's Cuba, like the country.
All right. Sometimes they pronounce it Cuba. So anyway, welcome to KGUA.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm so glad you're going to be coming up to visit with us. And I'm glad I could help out with the lodging too.
Yes, thank you. Excited about it.
Yeah, good friend is going to be helping out there. And so where are you going to be coming from? You're coming from Oakland, right?
Yes, that's right. Oakland is where I live.
Okay. And how long have you been a filmmaker, and when did you start working on this project? And tell us a little bit about Plant Heist, which is your film.
I guess you could say I've been a filmmaker since graduating film school in 2010, although this is my first official documentary film. But I've been working in the space for quite a while now. What was the second part of the question?
Well, I can tell from your bio that you've got a love of science fiction films and unexplored trails. You're a photography nerd. So I was just wondering, when did you start on this particular film, Plant Heist?
Oh.
I think it came out a couple of years ago, correct? But
2019? Yeah. We started it in 2019. Just a quick kind of story about how and why we started it. I was working in commercial filmmaking in San Francisco area, and I'm personally a really big fan of plants, always have been. My dad raised me around a lot of plants, and I had a huge collection of succulents myself, and so did a friend of mine who's another filmmaker. And we came across this article kind of just explaining this wild, bizarre poaching of plants off the California coast. I believe it was in the New Yorker. And I was interested on two levels. One, just personally, because I love succulents. And on another level, as a filmmaker, I was like, I wonder if anyone is telling this story with film. You know, the articles were out there, but I was really wondering if there's anything else out there. So I just started really digging into the internet rabbit hole, being like, is there anyone covering this? Because it seems like a big deal to me as a filmmaker that should be covered. And it wasn't. And so I kind of developed a storyline and a pitch, and, went to another friend of mine who's a filmmaker who owns a production company. And he was like, yeah, I think it's a great idea. You should go and try to talk to them. And then that started the journey.
Plant Heist, I was not even aware of this harvesting of the succulents along the coast. And I've lived on this coast for, almost a decade, almost 2 decades now.
Yeah.
But we've owned property in Mendocino since 1980. And that's inland, but I've been on the coast about a couple of decades. And I had seen a lot of the succulents from Mendocino, Fort Bragg area down to Sea Ranch, and did not know how big a problem this was until I saw your short film. And a bill came out of this, correct? So that there's actually major fines for those who illegally harvest these plants.
That is correct. I think maybe about a year later after the film, yes, a bill did come out, and there's more teeth to the law now. And it doesn't, if you watch the film, there's a line in there that our main character says that it's just the cost of doing business. And that's no longer the case. The cost of doing business is too high now because of that law, and the business being a illegal poaching business, where there's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. The fines are small. It's worth the risk because the payoff, what the plants are worth on the black market, is so high. So yeah, now that law is in place through the hard work of a lot of people, and it feels much better and much safer for these particular plants and succulents.
Now, the game warden that is highlighted in the film, Patrick Freeling, is he coming up to be here at the lodge as well?
Yes, I talked to him about 2 days ago, and he's planning to come up. Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. Well, I want to show now this trailer that you've put together that has Patrick in it. And it actually, the version that I'm going to play actually starts with the shot of Mendocino, going into Mendocino and the post office there in the town. So that's what I'm going to show now. And then we'll come back and talk about it on the other side. And I'm being engineer as well as host and producer and everything else here. This is Plant Heist, part of the 6 films we're going to see tomorrow at the Sea Ranch Lodge at 5:30.
It was December, right before Christmas.
I received a call from the post office, small post office, 2 desk clerks, never have a wait longer than 3 minutes. They told me that there was a woman waiting in line.
Line was getting longer and longer, and there was someone at the head of the line with 60 boxes. So the lovely old woman behind him tapped him on the shoulder and said, excuse me, sir, what is this?
And she noticed that they were being shipped to somewhere with Asian writing.
She saw dirt falling out of the seams of the package.
So she asked the man, excuse me, what are you shipping? And the man said, shh, something very valuable. She said, well, where did you get them? He didn't speak much English, but she said he pointed west towards the ocean.
And that is some beautiful footage, aerial footage of the Mendocino headlands that is in that trailer. And it is quite the research that you must have done, Gabe, to get all of that incorporated into the film. I mean, how long did it take for you to produce this?
That's a great question. So it wasn't just myself. Me along with my sister co-directed the film, and she...
Right, your sister.
Yeah, she helped a lot with the producing and the directing of the film. And together we both approached the research and went in and gathered a lot of information first, and pretty much read every article you could think of on these particular succulents. But yes, it took us about a little less than a year to get it all kind of done and edited and ready to go and start to kind of get it into film festivals to get the word out. But yeah, so plenty of research, especially in the initial phases, kind of in our pre-production phase.
How did you meet Patrick Freeling?
So I think meeting Patrick Freeling is it's the whole film, really. There is no film without Patrick. I don't think I would have made the film without having Patrick as our protagonist, through the lens that the audience sees everything through. meeting him was a little bit hard initially, which is what I kind of thought it would be, because no one knew who I was. I was cold calling the department and kind of, pleading my case of like, I want to tell this story. And of course, I have to talk to Patrick's boss first, who's also in the film, who's also named Patrick. Patrick Foy is his boss, the chief. And kind of, just really gaining trust is I think what it's all about, because I'm an outsider. I'm a filmmaker and I want to kind of build that trust. And I took initial maybe 3 phone calls to his boss before I think he trusted me enough to say, okay, if Patrick wants to do it, then I sign off on it. You can now go talk to him. And I knew Patrick was interested because he had told me, hey, I'm interested, but I can't do anything without my boss signing off on it. And so we drove up to Mendocino after getting the sign off, and I didn't really know who Patrick was beyond the quotes and the stories that I was reading. And so that was kind of my picture of him. When we met him, I think we got, like I said, Patrick's the film. We got very lucky because he is so passionate and he's such a hard worker, and it comes across in the film.
It does.
And I really put, all the success of the film. Yeah, we as filmmakers, we tried our best, but you get that main character in a film like this, in a documentary like this, where it's kind of driven by someone's passion. And, that was all Pat, and putting him on film and just asking the question, that's all Pat. Pat's enthusiastic, and he's an amazing person, really.
And we're talking about the film Plant Heist. How long is it again?
It's about 16 minutes.
And this is Gabriel de Cuba. Excuse me, I keep wanting to say de Cuba. It's de Cuba, and he's from Oakland. And I would like to now invite everybody to come back as we're on YouTube, KGUA's YouTube channel. So if you want to watch this later, you can. We have 3 filmmakers that we've been talking with today, and recently with Gabe de Cuba, and then before that we had Daryl Jury, and before that we had Cynthia Abbott with 3 Ocean Advocates. Daryl's film is Visions of the Lost Sierra, and there are 3 other films showing as well: Little Piece of Earth, Requiem for a Fallen Tree. Oh, that should be a good one to watch, right? With all the fallen trees we've had lately. And also Brief Survey. And I think that was, that sums it all up. Angela Matano, the executive director from the Mendocino Film Festival, has helped to coordinate this with Christina Jatan, the general manager of the Sea Ranch Lodge. And it is at 5:30 p.m. Saturday. And Gabe is going to join us along with Patrick Freeling. So all of you, thank you so much for being with us on the show today here at Peggy's Place. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Cynthia,
you,
yeah, good to see you. And Cynthia's in Petaluma, right? Are you from in your Petaluma home, Cynthia? She is. And then Daryl is up in, you said Plumas County, right, Daryl?
Yeah, Quincy, California.
And we have, again, Gabe, and you're from Oakland.
I'm in Oakland, yep.
So we've got all Northern California here that we're talking about. These are Northern California nature shorts. And each one of them makes up, out of the 6, it's going to be an 80-minute program. And I hope to see you at the next festival, Cynthia. I've seen you at a couple already. And Gabe, looking forward to seeing you here in person too.
Me as well.
I'm Leanne Lindsay, and this has been a very special segment about the Mendocino Film Festival, our gem of a festival just to the north of us, which is putting on this special event at the Sea Ranch Lodge this weekend, Saturday, January the 28th at 5:30 p.m. And then the Mendocino Film Festival will return this year from June 1 through 4. And if you've never had a chance to visit it, it is really a fabulous film festival. I've been to so many outside of Mendocino, but this one just has my heart. And I keep going back to it because it's lovely to walk around the village to the different venues and then also to go up to Fort Bragg to the Coast Cinemas where they show some of the films as well. And it's just a lovely set of few days and lots of parties, of course, too. And I wish I could have gone to the Sundance Film Festival where I guess one of the program directors is at right now getting some of the films for this year's film festival. Thank you all again for joining us on Peggy's Place. I'm Leanne Lindsay. This has been KGUA in Wallala, 88.3 FM. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, Angela, wherever you are in the background.
Bye.
All right, it's 10 o'clock. We are going to go to Native America Calling. Thank you for listening to KGUA 88.3 FM on the Northern California coast, streaming everywhere worldwide at kgua.org. And we're going to tune in to KUNM and find out what's happening today on Native America Calling.